guys, Miss Knierim here again. So we are going to be writing a body paragraph this week. So to kind of review, we had the introduction that we wrote last week, so I'll show you mine. And you can see here that my first point says it costs more to make than it's worth. So that's going to be the main idea statement for the body paragraph that I'm going to be writing today. Because remember, we want to go in order of how we wrote it in the introduction. So that's going to be my first point. And I have a little view of my outline. And so you can see that my point is that the penny is too expensive to make. And I have my two pieces of evidence, one that says it costs 2.41 cents to produce, and one that says that it making money costs money. And you can see that those are from two different sources. So we want to make sure that when we sit down to write, we double check and make sure that our evidence that supports our point comes from two different sources. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start writing. I'm going to model for you what my body paragraph is going to look like so that you can use it as a reference when you're writing yours. So I'm going to start out with my blue pen because remember, we know that topics are blue, points are red, okay? So I'm going to start out with my main idea statement because remember, a body paragraph always needs to have a main idea. So I'm going to start out by saying pennies are, and then I'm going to change it to red because this is going to be my point. Pennies are too expensive to make. That's my point. I'm going to go back to blue because I'm going back to the topic. And this is going to come from the prompt. So I'm going to go back to the prompt on this. Therefore, they should be. And instead of saying that we should stop the production and use of the penny, I'm going to use a synonym. And I'm going to use a strong synonym to make the person who's reading my essay really believe that we should stop. And I'm going to use the word banned because banned is a stronger connotation for the word stop. Should be banned from production. Okay, so that's going to be my topic and point sentence. So my entire body paragraph should support the idea that the pennies are too expensive to make, therefore they shouldn't be produced anymore. Okay, so then I'm going to go to black because we know that any of our elaboration or any of the ideas that come from our own brain are written in black. So I'm going to think about my evidence and kind of decide how I want to word it and what I might want to say about it. So when I look back at my outline, I realize that making money costs money and costs 2.41 cents to produce. When I look at that and think about how I want to write it, I actually decide that I'm going to use this piece of evidence first because remember, with logical progression, we want to have ideas that build upon one another. So I'm going to say making money costs money first, and then I'm going to tell the person reading it how much. So I think it would work out better if I use this piece of evidence in my writing first. So you can make those kind of changes as you're sitting down and thinking about what you're going to write. And so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to say everyone because I'm using generalizations here. Remember, we don't want to use I, me, my, we very often in our writing. We want to keep everything general and try to keep personal pronouns as much as possible out of our writing. Not that you can't use them, but we want to try to limit the number of times we might use a statement like that. So I'm going to say everyone knows that, and I'm going to go into my evidence. I'm going to go to green, and I'm going to say making money costs money. I'm going to put a comma here because I'm not going to end my sentence yet. So that's my evidence. And I'm going to go into a piece of elaboration. And I'm going to use kind of a modified if-then statement. So everyone knows that making money costs money, but if they knew the amount of money America is losing every time a coin is made, they would be surprised. Whoops. And I'm going to say, just to add a little bit of my own personality, and not in a good way. And so that's going to end my sentence, but remember that I used evidence here, so I need to make sure that I cite my source, and I got that one from source 3. So I am going to make sure I write here source 3. Okay, and then I'm going to go into my next piece of evidence, because I think this statement, America is losing money every time a coin is made. So I'm going to go ahead and tell them how much it costs. And I'm going to use a transition. I'm going to say, in fact, it costs, and that's going to go into evidence. It costs 2.41 cents. So I'm going to go ahead and tell them how much it costs to produce one penny. And again, sentence end, cite source, new piece of evidence, sentence end. So I'm going to go ahead and cite my source. And that came from source 1. Okay, and then I'm going to continue on with some elaboration here. And I'm going to say that is for a penny whose value is just 1, and I'm going to use the word measly here to minimize, just to kind of emphasize to the person how small the value is. Okay, so that's for a penny whose value is just 1 measly cent. And then I'm going to give them something that they can relate to. So I'm going to say that would be like a person spending $1.50 times the price of something. And I'm going to put in a statement. And I'm going to say, oh, that shirt is $20. No problem. Let me just pay $35. So it's showing it's 1.5 times the value instead. No one would do that. Yet, we expect the government to do that for us every day. So when they're producing the penny, they're spending 1.5 times the amount. So we wouldn't do it. So why would we ask them to do it? Okay. So just to kind of look at this, you can see that this and this are the only things that were coming from the text. Everything else has been my own original thought and my own elaboration on these ideas of why we should stop producing the penny. So remember, in a body paragraph, the last thing we need to do is a wrap-up sentence. And the wrap-up sentence we usually use red for. And with the wrap-up sentence, remember that for logical progression, again, we want to try to give a statement that wraps up this idea, but also leads into the next one. Or you can wrap this paragraph up, and then start your next body paragraph with the statement that ties together these two ideas. But I'm going to use the first strategy where I wrap this up and give them an idea of what my next body paragraph is going to be about. So I'm going to say, unfortunately, and again, this is a negative connotation. So I'm really trying to drive home the point in my writing by using words like in fact, unfortunately, so that it kind of ties back to this idea that it is a bad thing. So unfortunately, the penny is costing way more to make. So you notice like a little bit of exaggeration here, although it's not really an exaggeration. It's an exaggeration statement. Okay, unfortunately, the penny is costing way more to make than they are worth, and most Americans don't take them seriously anyway. Okay, so you can see, going back to my outline, too expensive to make and no one takes them seriously. So I have wrapped up the idea that they cost more to make than they're worth, and then I've led into my next idea so that the writing is going to tie together. So that is my example of my body paragraph. And as you're writing, remember, we should be seeing very little green, very little evidence, because our essay should be our own ideas, and we're only using evidence from the text to support those ideas and not the other way around. Okay, so I hope that you found this helpful and you can use some of these strategies in your writing Don't forget when you are writing to have your transitions toolbox out so that you can use some of the transition words. Don't forget that we have notes in our language arts binder that talks about how to write a body paragraph, and all of the other resources that we have gathered this year. You should be able to use this and those to formulate your body paragraphs. Just one last thing, as a reminder, when I grade things on chalk, I leave very specific feedback for you. I need you to make sure you're checking that feedback and incorporating those changes in your writing, okay? So every time you do a part, I'm grading it to make sure that you're on the right track, or offering solutions or suggestions to make sure that you are doing what's expected. So please make sure that you're going into chalk under the grade section and looking at the specific feedback that I have been given on each part before you move on. All right, guys, hope you have a good week. I can't wait to see your body paragraphs.